So it may not look like it today, but winter is on its way and it's going to bring with it a lot of cold, dark and wet driving conditions. So in today's video, I'm going to be going through a few things to prepare the Range Rover and get it ready for winter. This is my 2011 Range Rover Vogue 4.4 TDV8 that I purchased during the height of lockdown in December 2020. And aside from a few age-related niggles, start, you vicious bastard! It's been the perfect, comfortable, daily driver. And although the L322 is pretty much the perfect winter vehicle, there's always a little room for improvement. So here we go. Now, one of the most important things for winter driving is having good lights. When it's dark most of the day and you're going to work and back in the dark, you want to make sure your lights are really up to the task. So this is an area I've actually done a fair bit of experimentation on with the L322 in the past. I've messed around with a few different combinations of bulbs in the dipped and the main, and I've had an LED light bar across the front. I've also got these LED fog lights down here as well, which are replacement units. And at the moment, the setup I'm running is basically a standard Osram HID bulb in the main globe there, and then we've got the Bevonsey V55 LEDs in the main beams there, which are extremely bright, very, very good and highly recommended. But you can see all the different bulbs and different combinations I've tried in these headlights in a few different videos, which I'll link below and put in a link above, so go check those out. But today Bevonsey have sent me something that's a little bit different, which is an LED replacement for the main beam, which goes in this main HID globe here. So obviously normally these are just an HID projector lens, which is definitely superior to like a halogen headlight bulb, and it definitely does a pretty good job. But in theory, these LED replacements should be a really nice upgrade in terms of brightness and definition of the beam as well. Now, normally if you throw LED replacements into a halogen housing, a bit like this one is here, you're going to cause some issues with the beam pattern and possibly cause dazzling to other drivers. However, as we've got a proper HID projector lens in there, that's not going to cause any issues with this LED, and it should still control the light out of the headlight in a very nice way. So let's get these thrown in and we'll have a look what they look like. So this is the Bevonsey kit, which is an LED replacement for an HID bulb, as I said before. They're a D series. And the units themselves actually look quite a lot like the HIDs. So all the ballast and everything that you'd normally have in a separate box on an LED headlight bulb, it's kind of contained in this heat sink at the bottom here, which is quite nice. So yeah, we'll see how they perform, but I'm pretty excited about these. So I've covered all this before, but in order to get to your headlight bulbs for the main beam, it's just take this cap off the back, which just screws off anti-clockwise, and this is the back of the HID unit itself, which, as you guys can see, is an Osram unit in this one. So to get these out, all we've got to do, twist that anti-clockwise again, pull that out, and you guys will see that connector on the bottom, which just needs to be pulled off, which I need to do with two hands. So here's our Osram unit, which I only put in less than a year ago, actually. Still looking good. The globe in the centre has just started to go cloudy there, which I don't know if you guys will be able to see on the video. Maybe I'll zoom you in a bit. But what you find is this globe in the centre, which is where the main light is emanating from, starts to go kind of cloudy over time. And as it does that, you gradually lose your lighting output over time. So that's why they recommend you replace HIDs basically every 12 to 24 months, depending on how much you use them. But yeah, so far that's looking okay. And then here's its replacement side by side. As you guys can see, that's the LED Cree chip there on both sides. And the reason they do this and put it in this kind of shape is to kind of emulate the pattern that gets released by a HID. So light kind of going both sides. Yeah, let's chuck it in. So as you guys can see, I've just connected that back up to the new LED one. I'm just going to pop it back into place until it's located like that, and then just twist it clockwise to lock it into position. And that should also mean that the LED is orientated correctly in the headlight. So we'll just tuck these cables out of the way, take our cap, pop it right back on, sorted. So if I just pop the ignition on now and turn the lights on, you guys should be able to see immediately the difference in light temperature. So not only is the LED looking a lot brighter, certainly to the eye, it's looking a little bit whiter as well. So yeah, looking pretty nice overall. This is probably the easiest to change bulb of any car I've actually ever owned. It's literally a 30-second job to change a bulb. So that's these Bevonsey LED headlights installed. We'll check out what they look like later. This should be a good improvement, but the box says they're going to be 200% broader, 250% further, and 300% brighter. So I'm not sure where they get those numbers from. I'm not expecting it to be quite that much of a drastic improvement, but hopefully we can tell the difference later on tonight when I go out for a drive. Anyway, let's move on to the next job. So as I just mentioned there a minute ago, I've done a bit of a series on the Range Rover L322 of cheap upgrades. So there's quite a few of them around the car which you guys might have seen. Things like these LED side repeaters here, the headlight bulbs and the reversing lights, just to name a few. Now all of those cheap upgrades which some of you guys were worried about were going to stop working are actually still working. That is with the exception of one of the LED puddle lamps that goes underneath the wing mirrors here. The driver's one's still working fine, it's really nice and bright and it lights up the ground when you unlock the car, but this one stopped working. So I'm wondering whether it's just come unplugged or whether the unit itself has actually broken. So I'm just going to take it out and have a quick look. So I just wanted to check to make sure this is actually still connected properly. So I can't see any issue with the actual connection there. There's maybe a little bit of corrosion just on the terminals in there, but it doesn't look like it's been getting wet. So we'll just try it on the key and see if we can get it to come on. So I can't quite figure out what's going on here. This actually works when I take it indoors and put it onto my 12-volt power supply. So this unit is actually still fine, but for whatever reason it's not coming on from the car's system here. So I'm not entirely sure what's causing that. I'll have to do a bit more research and get back to you guys. But as I say, one on the other side is still working fine. Very strange. So I did a little bit more digging post-recording this, and the door mirror approach lights are controlled and powered by the door module for each respective door. Now, the door control module also looks after the electric windows, the locking and the mirror adjustment, etc. And all of that is still working okay on the passenger side, which is strange. So I fired up the IID tool and read the codes, but there wasn't anything in there relating to the door modules except for a different code stored in both the left and right door modules for the turn signal repeaters being open circuit. Now this is most likely due to the LEDs that I've put in there in the side repeaters not drawing enough current and making the control unit think that the bulb was blown. However, they both still work fine, those LED side repeaters, and that doesn't have anything to do with the door mirror approach light. So I think my next step is going to be to have the door card off on the passenger side, and I'm going to check the wiring to the approach light and check all the grounds and stuff like that. I'm going to have the door card off soon anyway for a future project, so that'll be a good time to take a look. Anyway, on to the next item. So something that really suffers on these L322 Range Rovers, particularly in the winter months, is the battery here. Now the L322 is already quite a battery intensive vehicle, electrically intensive. It's got a lot of ECUs around the vehicle that tend to wake up whenever you open a door or turn on the ignition, stuff like that. It draws the battery down really quite fast. There's also a lot of electrical toys on board the L322, like with a lot of luxury cars, like heated seats and steering wheel. So in wintertime, when you're using all of that and you're using your headlights quite a lot more often, that can start to get on top of the battery, and sometimes, particularly if you're doing short journeys and a lot of start-stop, the battery can get a bit behind on charge. Something else which is on this particular car, which should be on all 4.4 diesel Range Rovers, is the diesel preheater. So on these diesel powered cars, there's a diesel fuel burning heater which is tucked away down there, which is set to come on, I think, from about 10 degrees and below. So whenever the outside temperature is below 10 degrees, the Range Rover is going to fire up that diesel preheater to get the engine warmed up quicker and to get heat into the cabin quicker as well. So it's a really nice feature to have, but that's actually very battery intensive as well as using diesel. It has to power that glow plug with about 10 amps for a few minutes whilst it's starting up. So that's quite a big draw on the battery, and combined with the fan as well, that's quite a lot of battery power that's being used. What can make that even worse is if you've got your diesel preheater set to come on in the mornings at a set time, which you can do via the screen to preheat the cabin of the car basically. That's going to have an even worse effect on your battery as well. So what I'm saying is the battery's got to be in really good health on an L322 Range Rover when you're coming up to those winter months. Now the one I've got in here is a 019 AGM, which is the correct battery for this car. It's actually only about a year old, but I've just noticed recently, over the last few days actually, it started to just sound a little bit slower when turning over the car first thing in the morning. So the starter's just turning that little bit slower. So what I'm going to do tonight is throw on this Noco Genius 5 smart charger onto the battery and give it a really good full overnight charge. And this will basically take the battery up to its full charge capacity and help it catch up on the charge deficit that I was talking about earlier. So this will bring the battery charge state back up to where it should be and make it a bit quicker to start in the mornings, and overall help the vehicle electrical system out a bit. Another thing you can actually do with these cars is you can get a adapter that plugs into the trailer socket to plug into your charger. So basically you can have like an umbilical cord powering your Range Rover overnight, making sure that battery is fully charged every night when you get back. I think that's actually a pretty good idea, particularly if you're using the diesel preheater, like I said, every morning. That's going to make sure the heater runs for the full length that it should, because it will cut out if the battery voltage drops below a certain level, and it's going to make sure you've always got power to start first thing in the morning when it's really cold. So yeah, not a bad idea. But for now, we're just going to chuck the Noco onto the battery and give it a really good overnight charge. So the next point on our checklist is going to be one of the most important factors for any vehicle, but particularly for the winter months. And that, of course, is tyres. So as good as the suspension systems and the all-terrain systems are on the Range Rover L322, if you've not got a good set of tyres on the car, it's not going to perform as you want it to. So that's why the next thing I want to talk about is tyres. Now, I'm not going to suggest that you guys have all got to go out and buy yourself a set of chunky all-terrain tyres like these Cooper Discoverer AT3s. What I mean when I say winter tyre preparation is basically just having a decent set of tyres that are not too old and have decent tread all the way around. However, I've had these Cooper Discoverer 83 Sport 2s on the L322 for about 2.5 to 3 years now, and I've been massively impressed by them. They've now covered around 25,000 miles and they're still looking extremely good. There's at least half the tread left on all four corners, which is amazing. So I reckon we should be looking at getting at least 40 or 50,000 miles out of this set of tyres, which makes them amazing value. But as well as that, they've been extremely well mannered on the road in any kind of road conditions, be it nice dry tarmac or extremely wet, cold conditions. They're really, really reassuring, and they just grip no matter what the situation is. We've had a few weeks of snow over the last 3 years, and whenever there's been any ice or snow on the road, these have made the car feel really, really secure and predictable. For an all-terrain tyre, they're also really, really quiet, and they haven't made a huge difference to the fuel consumption of the Range Rover since I fitted them. However, like I said, not everybody needs or wants all-terrain tyres like this on their Range Rover, so really a set of good matched all-season tyres is going to see you through pretty much any weather that the UK, most of Europe, definitely Ireland, is going to throw at you. Something like a Pirelli Scorpion Verde, as the Range Rover comes with as standard, is going to be perfectly fine. But for my money, these Cooper Discoverer 83 Sport 2s are really, really good value, and they make the truck look pretty awesome as well, in my opinion. So buying tyres can be pretty confusing if you're not a massive nerd like me. So here's my quick guide for buying tyres for your L322 Range Rover. So the L322 came from the factory with either 18-inch, 19-inch or 20-inch wheels. The 18s are generally only found on the earlier cars which had smaller brakes, and the vast majority of later cars will be on 19 or 20-inch wheels. So for the 18-inch wheel, the standard size is 235/65 R18 or 255/60 R18, depending on the spec. The first size, 235/65/18, is getting a little bit tricky to find these days, so I'd recommend, if you have got 18-inch wheels, moving up to the 255/60, which will give you a much better selection of tyres. So for all season tyres, you can get the awesome Michelin Cross Climate 2 in this size, something I've had on some of my previous cars in the past, and this would be my overall recommendation. They're going to give you brilliant performance all year round, and as with most Michelin tyres, they keep working really well even as the tyre is getting towards the end of its life, which makes them great value even though they're quite expensive to buy initially. Another good all-season option would be the Goodyear Vector 4, which is kind of their equivalent of the Cross Climate. And in terms of all-terrains, you can get the Cooper Discoverer 83 Sport 2s like mine in a 265/60 R18, which is going to stand a little bit wider and a little bit taller than the standard size, but it will fit without issues and it should look and work great. So moving up to the 19s, the factory size was 255/55 R19. And again, there's a pretty decent selection here, the same as for the 18s really, and you can get the Michelin Cross Climates, the Goodyear Vectors, Continental Conti all-season contacts, and you can get the Vredestein Quattrak as well for a bit more of an affordable option. You can also get the Cooper 83 Sport 2s in this size again, and also the Cooper ATTs, which are a bit more road biased and would be a great choice also. For 20-inch rims, like I have on my L322, the original size was 255/50 R20. Although a lot of people move up to a 255/55 R20, which gives a little bit more sidewall height and seemingly improves the ride a fair bit too. Options here are again quite good, with the Michelins, Goodyears and Vredestein all seasons available in the stock size. But for all-terrain tyres, this is where people tend to have to stray away from the standard 255/50 size and move upwards a bit, as there's not really much available in that standard size. So at 255/55 R20, you've got the General Grabber AT3, which seems quite popular from what I see on the Facebook pages and forums, and BF Goodrich offer the Trail Terrain TA as well, which, well, it's a BFG, it's going to last forever. And then moving up a little bit more, you can find my Cooper 83 Sport 2s in a 275/55 R20 size, which stands at about 32 inches tall. or a 275/60 R20, which is a 33-inch tyre. And at that point it will require some trimming of the arches and moving of the washer bottle out of the way, etc. However, sizes aren't the only thing you need to be looking out for. There are lots of other ratings that are important when choosing tyres. There are the obvious ones like weight ratings and speed that everyone should be aware of by now, but there are some other logos and ratings on the sidewall of some tyres that are worth looking out for. Now, most all-terrain tyres will have an M&S stamp on the sidewall. Now, this doesn't mean that it came from a posh grocery shop, but it actually means mud and snow, which just means the tyre should be suitable for use in the winter. However, this one can appear on pretty much any tyre, so in reality it doesn't really mean a whole lot as it's not controlled or standardised. Now, another one you might see is the 3PMSF logo, which looks a little bit like a little mountain range with 3 peaks. 3PMSF means 3-peak mountain snowflake, and it signifies a tyre that's been certified to perform well in demanding weather conditions and will maintain its performance at below freezing temperatures. Now, this marking is regulated and controlled by EU authorities, so it does actually count for a lot more than the old M&S marking does. My Coopers do have this 3PMSF logo, and sure enough, they're actually great in very cold temperatures and on snow and ice. So for my money, you really want to be looking for a tyre that has that 3PMSF logo. So the mortal enemy of any Land Rover owner is going to be rust. And as you know, in the UK and in Ireland here and a lot of places around the world, what they like to do when it gets cold is put a load of salt on the roads, which mixes with all the moisture and the rain, and it gets splashed up onto your vehicle and causes it to rust away. Now, for the underside of the car, all the steel on the frames and the subframes and the sills and things like that, they're all sorted by doing undersealing. And you guys can see a video that I did on that about 12 months ago, doing a full surface rust treatment and undercoating on the whole L322 underneath. So click up here to see that if you haven't seen it already. But really of equal importance to all the undersealing that I did in that video is protecting the paintwork itself and the bodywork up top here. So when you think about your paintwork on your vehicle, you've got to kind of think about it in layers. So at the very bottom, you've got the paint itself, and you've got the lacquer above that, protecting the paint. But then above that, it's kind of up to you as to what you do in terms of protecting it. So at the very basic level, things like a wax are going to give you really basic protection, things that you might even have mixed in with your wash, your car washing solution. That's going to give you a little bit of chemical protection and a little bit of protection from moisture as well. So that's better than nothing. But if you want to take that layer of protection up another step, you can do things like ceramic coating, which is another thing that I did on the Range Rover in another video. So again, click here to see that, or down below in the description. So the Rangie actually already has a coat of G-Technic Exo V4, I think it is, which is a ceramic coating that I applied in that video about this time last year. And that should still be holding up, and it should hold up for another good while, yeah, another couple of years at least. However, what I'm going to do now that the car's clean is apply another coat of this G-Technic C2 liquid crystal, which is kind of like a fast, quick way to put another layer of protection on your car. So that's going to sit on top of the Exo V4, on top of the lacquer, and just give it even more protection. So the procedure for this is it's literally, you can use it as a drying agent. So you can spray it on while the car's still wet and then wipe it over with your normal chamois leather or drying microfiber cloth as I've got here. So really quick and easy, like I said. That's as easy as that. That panel's done now. So yeah, really easy, like I said. And what you'll notice once you've done this is the next time the car gets wet, the water will bead up on the surface really nicely. And that should last for about 6 months or more. So yeah, so really, really nice, quick, easy process with good results. My tailgate, as some of you guys might have noticed, is starting to suffer a bit in the normal place that they seem to go. The paint's just kind of gone along the bottom here and it started bubbling up a bit. So I am going to have to look at trying to sort this at some point in the future. It may be a case of completely repainting the top tailgate, stripping it all back and starting again basically. But I'm going to have to look into what the best option for repairing this is, because it looks a bit unsightly at the moment. So yeah, that's the liquid C2 crystal process done, used as a drying agent, really fast, and that's added another really nice waxy kind of protection layer on top again, so we should see some really nice water beading on this next time it gets wet, which won't be long because it's Ireland. But yeah, you guys will see if you go back to that detailing video that I did on the Range Rover where I polished it all up using a machine polisher and then went through the steps of putting the Exo V4 ceramic polish on. That's a much more involved process. So with that, you're applying it with a much smaller brush. You're actually applying it in a kind of regular pattern, letting it go off and then wiping off the excess, which takes a fair bit longer. But that does give you a much kind of longer lasting protection than this. So kind of swings and roundabouts. As it is though, I've got the Exo V4 underneath, and now we've got the C2 liquid crystal on top of that as well. So layering up that protection. So here we go guys, night has now fallen here in Ireland, and I'm just going to go for a quick spin up the road and we'll see what these new LED replacement headlight bulbs look like. So just turn her on. And then that's our side lights, and that's our dip beam. So straight away that is actually looking pretty good. They're definitely bright and nice and white as well. So let's see what it looks like when we get down the road. And as you guys can see over there on the bank opposite, we've got nice clean cut-off lines, which is what you want to see. So obviously those projector lenses in the headlights are working as we want them to. So let's head down the road and see what it looks like. So yeah, very nice. I'll put up a side-by-side comparison because I think I've got this exact footage pretty much from the last time I tested some bulbs. So yeah, hopefully we can see a good comparison there, but so far so good. I'll say it's probably not as drastic of a improvement as those numbers on the box were saying. I'd say this is probably about, you know, a 10 or 20% improvement over the good HIDs that we had last time. So with the HID system in the Range Rover L322, the dip beams are actually used during the main beam as well. So in the headlights there are some shutters which open and close to basically control that beam cutoff. So when you go to full beam like this, you're actually using those main beam fill lights, which were also LEDs on this, but we're also using the dip beams with the shutters fully open. So as you guys can see there, that's a really good fill and spread of light there right across the road, and it's got a good bit of throw on it as well. So overall, yeah, pretty damn good. So yeah, pretty happy with those. Like I say, not a massive improvement over, you know, a decent pair of HID bulbs, but overall with the high beams with those Bevonsey V55 LEDs in the full beam positions, that's a pretty good overall light output. Even without that additional light bar on the front, which I don't have anymore because I've changed my grille, the overall light output is looking really nice. Definitely more than adequate for this kind of driving down these country roads at night. I am looking to reinstate my light bar, or possibly replace it with some round LED spotlights, so like something along the lines of the ARB intensity lights, but not just yet. For now, this is definitely going to be adequate, more than adequate.
So I hope these little tips are going to help you guys prep your beasts for the winter months ahead. If you found the video useful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I've got a load more L322 and P38 content coming up, so I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!